Hi, everybody. My name is Sarita Scherpereel, and I am not your mother's realtor. And this is my podcast, Shit Just Got Real Estate. And I'm joined by my best friend, my client, my colleague, Megan Osberger.
Hello, everyone.
Well, you guys, today, I think this episode is going to be filled with a lot of emotions. I know we tried to actually record this episode yesterday, but I felt like I wasn't really sharing kind of some of the negative things that had happened, or just wasn't calling a spade enough. So we decided to redo it. And by the way, I feel like it was mostly me that was like, I feel like I've got more to give. let's take another crack at it. So you guys, I was under contract this last 2 weeks. Right before Thanksgiving, I put a multi-unit under contract for myself to owner occupy as an investment property.
Which you've been wanting to do.
Yeah. So this has been like a 2-year journey for me. Yeah. When I finally was able to, as an independent contractor, get to a point where, you know, I can afford it and can afford also the business side of this as well. So as like an agent, as a realtor, you want to make sure you have like a good 6 months of savings before you decide that you're going to make like a real large purchase like that. And then also in COVID, I think we all got to the point where, you know, the pricing on things was just getting really ridiculous. So I had actually lost many multiple offer situations on properties.
Realtors, they're just like us.
Right? I mean, like, seriously, I feel like, you know, at the end of the day, one of them was like the most aggressive offer I've ever written for anybody. It was as is, which as a realtor, I was very comfortable doing. And then I was $12,000 above the listing price. And then I was also going to do more down than just the 3.5%. And then on top of that, 12,000, 3% down. I had a quick timeline. I think it was something like that. So I basically gave them pretty much everything that they want that I thought was kind of like above and beyond like what you should do in offers just to win a bidding war. And then, of course, when it goes to close, I find out that I missed the multiple offer situation by a buyer that did $36,000 above listing and was conventional. So it's cute because you think you're going so aggressive and then somebody else is obviously going much higher.
You just need to think like they're going to have some expense that comes up that makes them think, oh God, did I ever pay this?
Right.
Like $30,000, and you'll be like, yes.
Well, and I always feel like, and I mean, I'm a pretty spiritual person and I was raised Catholic, but I think now especially in real estate, I see so many times where buyers, you know, for whatever reason, you can't close on a property or you can't find a property. And then what ends up happening is months later, it just is not, it was for the best. You didn't get the property. I had a client that lost many properties and then they ended up getting a job in California. And I've had clients that have gotten sick, you know, they months later had, you know, pregnancy things come up, and it's just like you don't know how the world maybe is going to spin in the future. And I always feel like it's just God, it's the universe kind of pulling you away from maybe like what's not meant to be for you. So yeah, but I also feel like, and this is where I think yesterday I had some struggles talking about all this stuff, because as a realtor, I know that I'm going to find a property and I'm going to find it at some point. Like I'm not going to be, you know, without like purchasing something probably within the near future. But at the same time, I think that it's a circus out there and I have to like call a spade and just say, hey, you know, sometimes these things are really hard, even if you have the means to purchase, even if you have the education to purchase or the skill set to do all of these things, you're still up sometimes against this market that's really difficult.
And you still feel things about it.
I still what?
You'll still feel things about it. It's not like you don't have emotions related to this because of it. Yeah. Yeah.
I still feel it's kind of like, and I was thinking about this last night. It's kind of like I got dumped or something. It was like a breakup at some point, because you find a property you like, you sort of start to romanticize about the rehab.
Oh yeah, I was doing that.
I know. I think for
your rehab, I came home and like, well, here's what I'm thinking.
This is what we're gonna do, and like I think you do that with like, you know, like online dating, or like I think, you know, when you meet someone you like, you start thinking like, oh, how does this work? Moving in together, future things. And I think sometimes you put the cart before the horse on, stuff like this. But yeah, no, I was totally like romanticizing. I was super happy I was under contract. I thought this thing was a shoe-in. And then shit got real. So, so let's talk about like kind of what happened. So first, I want to say that I purchased this property with a little bit of PTSD. Like I said, I missed so many multiple offer situations. And then on top of missing so many multiple offer situations, I had only seen 2 of the 4 units in the building, which is very common for multi-units where they say, we're going to only show you 1, or we'll show you 2, or we'll show you that last one when you're under contract because it's similar, but the tenants might be COVID sensitive or whatever. So I was used to that, and I really relied on the agent to say like, hey, this is similar. This condition of these units is similar, and you kind of trust that. So I did that. I also asked about the age of the roof, which I was told that it was in a different condition than we found it in. And then the other thing that was really hard upon the first showing, and then we actually got in and like got to like see what was underneath everything. The lower level had just a lot of stuff in it, and it was really cool. It was a vibe. It was a really cool place, but there was so many things that were down there that I couldn't see, like the city water main. I couldn't see some of the plumbing inlets.
There was literally just like a big bin in front of a door, so you'd have to like move it to open, things like that.
Yeah, and it was mechanical equipment too we had to move.
Right.
So it wasn't just like I could move a bunch of Barbies or something. It was like a saw.
Yeah.
So like when you're there doing a showing, you're not going to start like rummaging through things, like especially for a first showing. So okay, yeah, I did not get to see the full scope of the building before putting in the offer. Also, like I said, PTSD. So my goal is just to get it under contract and then kind of take a step back. Also, the things that we're going to talk about that came up in the inspection were not a big deal for me. None of them were a big deal. But when you start to take them into the strategy of the property, that's when I just kind of got fucked. And then I just couldn't think about, hey, I'm going to buy in December. And then the issues that were to come would shift what my strategy was going to be. And then I just couldn't do that because basically we would not be able to do a lot for the first 5 months.
Yeah.
So let's break that down. So you and Kale came to the inspection with my inspector, Tyler. We start on a unit that I hadn't seen before. And so we're upstairs and we can see that there's possibly some water damage. Although the moisture reader didn't come up, that was a huge indicator that probably the roof at some point had something.
Right.
So we are now seeing a unit that is also not in the same condition as the other one because the hardwood floors in that unit were not salvageable at all. They had been, sanded down so many times that like they were very thin. A couple areas had water damage. So replacing and like doing like a replica wood on it was just not going to be possible. So we're starting to see things immediately in the first unit right away start to spiral a little bit. So we get up on the roof, we find out the roof is basically being held up by Hope and Gumby's membranes. It was
Flapping
just like,
in the wind is what she said about it yesterday.
Yeah, no, like one of the pieces was like, it could come up almost the size of my arm. Mm-hmm. And so I'm buying it in December. I have a roof that absolutely has to be, it's a tear off at this point. And we've got layers of roof underneath it. So I could probably do a quick fix, but there was a lot of quick fixes that were needed. So we're looking at maybe like $1,000, maybe $2,000 just to fix the integrity of the roof to make it last.
To make it through winter.
Yeah, until like we can get to a spring to do a complete tear off.
Right.
Well, the problem with that is the units underneath it need a rehab. So if I have to do a rehab in the units and I see potential water damage above it, I'm not gonna like be able to get in there and do the renovation without the concern that, oh, we're gonna have to go back and redo all of this because the roof is literally flapping in the wind.
And especially after the winter we had last year, with just so much snow, like, and everybody is saying, I need a roofer, I have this, I need like new gutters and like there's an ice pack. It's like you can't take the risk.
Yeah. So yeah, it changed the strategy, the seasonal strategy. And then also too, like the things that we had hoped, like that we could maybe paint some cabinets and just like paint some walls, that it would be a lot easier, and everything was going to need to be pulled and repaired, because going down to the basement, we found out that the plumbing was also not in the best shape. When you started like opening up and pulling out all the tenant stuff, the saw and all the other things. So David, my plumber, who's also a client of mine, came and did the sewer lateral scope, and there was a couple of issues that came up in the scope. So we have now plumbing, we have roof, we have a change of strategy. And then, as Kale pointed out yesterday in the episode, Tyler, so like electrical panels, how they work, if you don't know, you can kind of see the panel on the outside and you know like what condition or what age the panels are in, but you don't really know how the double tap or the system works behind it until you unscrew it, and then you can remove the panel and then you see what's back there. And Tyler, when he like opened it up, he just goes, "Oh shit." And the electric that was there, I'm sorry, I'm like laughing, but I'm also like really crying right now. So the electric that was there had melted.
That's so scary. That's not supposed to happen.
Like the tenant's still using it, and you're like, oh my god, is this like, am I buying a Matchbox? Like,
well, and the other agent wasn't there, so she had to like tell them, like, you know about this, right?
I know. I'm like, so the box has melted. So at some point it had overheated, maybe even caught fire or had a spark or something, right? So now I'm thinking, okay, I've got to fix electrical panels too before we get in. So now this project that I thought was going to be maybe $150,000 all in is looking like closer to like $225,000
plus 5 months.
Yeah, the problem is the 5 months, right? So if this is something I could start tomorrow and then give you guys some like really great like how-to videos on Instagram and YouTube, I was all for it. Because I think it's just, I want to be able to show and be transparent with our marketing and like what you can do and what we do.
Right.
But if we're having to wait 5 months and I need to move in there, and I need to move in there with the hope that the roof is not going to fall off, like I couldn't do that. So let's say this was 6 months in the future, this deal might look really good. But for right now in December, I think the best thing I could do was to break up with my property, just say, hey, timing of this is not going to work out, and cut my losses. So that's
other fish in the sea.
Other fish in the sea. Other fish in the sea. And I think this was also an indicator too that like I will be able to get something under contract. Yeah. And even if it means like, because now I'm about like looking at 10% down. The hardest part for FHA is like self-sufficiency test, the seller's willingness to like want to work with you on the purchase because they have that second inspection to do. But you know, if I can cut through some of that and do like 10% down, you know, I will, but it can't be a $200,000 project then.
Right.
So, because I also want to buy something in Florida. I also want to buy something in Michigan. So I want to make sure that my strategy for the first property is not a money pit. Nobody freaking wants that. Like,
you know what I want?
I know. I want a place that the electrical had burnt, and then I can just throw all my money at it. Yeah, so I just want to be able to do more things with my money as most of my buyers would. And I had to take a step back and say, okay, well, Sarita, you're the buyer now, but like put your realtor hat on. What would you tell a buyer? And like, I would tell a buyer all day, every day to not buy it.
Yeah. It's disappointing as it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I talked to Jason and he had said the same thing. I talked to a bunch of other people. They had said the same thing. And so all my mentors and people out there, my clients that I just like love that are crushing it, were so helpful. You guys were so helpful too with like trying to understand and get me to see the light on this one.
It takes a village.
Yeah, it takes a village. It does. But yeah, so I guess that's kind of like the overview of what happened, as disappointing as it may be. But
everybody stay tuned, because I know that you're going to find something good.
Yeah,
and we'll have
I've got
fun
2 more
from that
properties that I want to see this week. So I've been pretty busy with other things that came up yesterday. The world started spinning backwards yesterday on some of my deals, so it was a little distracting, but there's still a couple of other ones that I want to see, and I'm hopeful that, like, you know, just like everybody else, like, when it's meant to be, it's meant to be. What is delayed is not denied, and everything happens for a reason. Just get a little churchy on y'all. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening, and we will catch you soon.
Bye.